do we have a name for this? What are we calling this?
I think just the Collective Health and Wellness Podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Pretty original. Staying on brand, I guess.
I like it.
Yeah.
So purpose of this is for us to talk to the employees that we serve through the company and to help them understand sort of what we do, why we do it. And as we move forward, we'll have subject matter experts on certain topics. So people can tune in and, get some information specific to their needs, and we'll just grow from there.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like the organic approach of the podcast. So
yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you, Eamon, who you are, what you do from a personal side.
Personal side. So my name is
Professional.
Eamon Coyne. I am the founder of Collective Health and Wellness. I'm also the founder of Palace Fitness. What else do I do? I've got a number of companies that I work for or I own within the fitness space. And I've been involved in fitness and health and wellness for about 20 plus years now. I was a collegiate athlete. I focused a lot on strength training and nutrition for athletics, as well as when I was in the military, just for performance base and making sure I was ready for anything. I'm the dad of two awesome boys. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I live in Red Bank, New Jersey.
You live in Red Bank. And you're how old? How old are you?
I'm 41.
41. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. My turn.
Who are you?
I am Kat Shear. I am 49 years old. Wife, mother of 2 teenagers and 3 dogs. I live in Hockessin, Delaware, which is just west of Wilmington, Delaware. I am the owner of Catalyst Fitness, which is a private training gym. I also own a CrossFit affiliate, CrossFit Clarity. I work for Eamon at Collective Health and Wellness, and I am a podcaster. I do media for CrossFit events and still haven't figured out what I want to do when I grow up. I was a professional ballerina growing up, so into movement and health, but not necessarily sport. Became a gym rat in my 20s and have been doing CrossFit or some kind of functional fitness for sport and competition for the last probably 7 or 8 years. I've been training people. I am a nutrition coach and personal trainer, pretty much.
Cool. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I like to think of you as my teammate, not my employee.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
We work together.
We work together, yeah.
Yes, we do. On lots of fun things.
Yeah, we do all kinds of fun things together. I guess that's another thing that I own is the Masters Fitness Collective with the group.
Yes.
So totally missed that one.
I love it.
So the reason why I started Collective Health and Wellness is that I saw a hole in the way that many companies are dealing with wellness and their approach to wellness. They hire these companies for an exorbitant amount of money. Through that, they, are measuring steps, which is a great metric when you're getting people involved in fitness and movement. And they really restrict the way that they approach nutrition, right? And that's kind of the only 2 pillars that they really follow. Is it's like, if you eat your salad and you get your steps in, you're going to get healthier. That's not necessarily looking at health and wellness from the full, through a full lens, in my opinion. And I think in a lot of people in our industry's opinion.
Yeah. And that's pretty much why you came up with these 4 pillars, right? That we have sort of adhered to.
Yeah. And I think there's room for other pillars in there, but I think these 4 specifically create a basket that, as they kind of come up in individual pieces, it kind of creates that basket for living what's considered a healthy life, but it's a little bit more whole person approach versus just having these like standalones of get your steps in and eat your salad. And the 4 pillars are intentional movement. And intentional movement, I'll get into the explanation of all this, but the intentional movement, mindful nutrition, quality sleep, and the last one is mental resilience and wellness. So let's start from the intentional movement kind of approach. Intentional movement is seen as like focused movement, right? So it's not, I park my car and I get out of my car and I walk into the building where I'm working, where I go and sit down and, I'm there for 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever a day. And then I get up and I walk back out and I walk to my car again, and then I walk into my house or to the grocery store or whatever. Those are just functions of movement throughout your daily tasking. Intentional movement is, there is a very like specific way we kind of approach that. I am going to go for a 30-minute walk today. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to the gym and spend 30 minutes doing some strength training. I'm going to play a sport, right? Like play softball, play dodgeballs, whatever. I'm going to go for a hike. And so that, to me, those are the intentional movement things. It's like I am specifically going someplace other than my desk or the walking or whatever to go and get some mindful exercise in. And I think there has to be a separation between activities of daily function versus intentional movement, which is why I like to kind of picture it like that. You and I do CrossFit. To me, any kind of group functional fitness or any kind of group fitness is a great way to like not necessarily zone out, but it's a great way to have that hour or 30 minutes set aside for you for the day. You go in, you're instructed what to do through, a class structure. You have a little bit of community, which helps dig into that mental resilience side of things. Mm-hmm. You're talking about what you're having for lunch or breakfast or whatever on a daily basis. So to me, like having somebody else tell me what to do and then me doing it is way easier than me saying, all right, I'm going to go into the gym, and I've never really gone into a gym before, but I'm going to go in there and I'm going to have a leg day. Right. And you're like, what's a leg day?
Right.
So, to me, CrossFit or Orange Theory or any one of those dance classes, Pilates, any of that stuff where you have an instructor who's actually going through the motions with you and teaching you as you're going through that stuff, I think helps to create a little bit more structure within your regular fitness regimen.
Yeah, and there's some accountability with that too, right? A lot of times with the class, you're paying someone for their time, you're making an appointment, you're putting it in your calendar, you're showing up, someone's expecting you to be there, that kind of thing. I find a lot of my clients, when they choose to do personal training sessions, it's very much the accountability piece of, if I don't put this on the calendar and, pay for it, it's probably not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And, it could even be something as simple as, having a Planet Fitness membership. And I know that's not group fitness, but, if you go into Planet Fitness and you're like, I'm going to spend 30 minutes on the treadmill or the elliptical or the recumbent bike, or, follow this structure that they have set out within there, and those memberships are like, what, $10 a month?
Sure. Or how about just, I'm going to call my friend and we're going to meet at the park, at 3 p.m. We're going to bring our dogs and we're going to walk at a fast pace, and it's going to be, for 30 minutes. And that's another way to be accountable, and it's free.
Yeah. And, we can get into, at a later date, we'll get into things like intensity and intention and et cetera, as far as movement's concerned. But to me, that is intentional movement. That is something I am putting this on my schedule, and I'm going to commit to doing it for X number of days or X number of months. There's usually some kind of like metric at the beginning, whether it be body weight or, pant size or whatever that you're measuring at the beginning. And then at the end of that 3 month, 6 month, whatever long period, you're checking that stuff again, just to see where you are and kind of see what's happened there. It's a scientific approach, right? test, do a bunch of things in the middle, retest at the end, see where we are in that space. So that's the intentional movement side of things.
Yeah, love it.
Mindful nutrition, since you're the kind of the nutrition expert, why don't you take this one?
Yeah, so mindful nutrition in my mind is purposefully making choices that are going to be beneficial to your health. So we all sort of know, I think, intrinsically what foods are going to drive us towards that health goal and what foods might sort of detour us from those food goals. And we talk a lot about, we probably shouldn't have a lot of processed sugar, and we probably shouldn't have, a lot of packaged foods. And you hear about shopping on the outside of the grocery store, where things, if it had a face, or if it, grew out of the ground, like those are the great things that we should eat. We talk about eating more fruits and vegetables. Yeah, mindful nutrition to me means that not only are we just setting goals for ourselves on a daily, weekly, monthly basis in terms of the quality of our food, but we're also just making small little changes to what we're already doing. I'm not a big fan of taking someone who maybe is on the traditional American diet and they're eating a lot of processed carbohydrates, a lot of packaged foods, and saying, okay, for the next 30 days, all you're going to eat are plants and, fruits and vegetables and grass-fed meat and things like that. That doesn't work. It's not sustainable, and it's not realistic for someone to just sort of do a whole 180 on their diet. But if you are someone that's eating that American diet full of processed foods, how about, add a vegetable to every meal? Or how about you decide to take one of those things that comes in a package and just kind of remove it from the pantry and don't buy it again for a while and see how you do. When we build these sort of sustainable habits and we change our behaviors just a little bit at a time, I find that people are able to sort of sustain that over time and improve the overall quality of, what they're eating and their overall health in general. So a lot of the things that you'll see us talking about in terms of nutrition is some education. We talk about what is a calorie, what is a macronutrient, what foods are high in protein, what foods are high in sugar, those kinds of things. But it's really about having control of what you put in your mouth and making those decisions that are going to sort of get you to that next level of health.
Yeah, and it's when it comes to nutrition, there's a number of things that we need to keep in consideration. The psychological side of eating and nostalgia, right? But realizing that some people have very deep ties to certain foods, and it's not about changing the history. It's about moving forward in a more positive light of making better food choices. And I don't know about you, but for me, when it comes to nutrition, I'm a good 80-20er, right? Like 80% of the time I'm eating pretty well. Today I had some salmon for lunch and a salad, and some rice because I need some carbohydrates. But I got 2 kids. They don't always eat all their pizza. Guess what? There's a dad tax on that.
Yep.
Right. So I come in and I take my bite or two of pizza, and then we go from there. And I see it as setting these, especially with 2 young kids, setting these not rules, but setting these habits early for them is good. So, my kids are eating a lot of healthier foods, but every once in a while we throw a pizza in there. So it's,
excuse me, I was gonna sneeze.
So, I think there's the psychology side of that. And then we can start, there's so many rabbit holes we can go down with nutrition. We could start talking about intermittent fasting. We can talk about keto. We could talk about the carnivore diet. We could, there's so much we can do with this.
Yeah.
And over time, we'll probably touch on a few of these things. Intermittent fasting and keto seem to be really big things right now. So we'll probably touch in on those at one of the more sooner podcasts than later podcasts.
Yeah.
And then what was I going to say?
One thing, let me add one thing about that nutrition thing when we talk about the different diets too, is that not a huge fan of diets. I know you probably aren't either in terms of them being sustainable and long term. I really rather people get into a habit where they're sustaining they're sustaining what their choice is on a long-term basis that work for them, and that diets are just kind of labels, in a way of like, well, this is the kinds of food that I'm eating today, or these are the times that I'm eating, and things like that. And I think, maybe for high level athletes or for people that are really special, that need like specialized nutrition, maybe a diet is the right thing. But I think for, the general population, it's more about just making good choices at every meal, and making sure that, we're happy with the things that we're eating, and that they're giving us, all that good feeling that we like to have. Because like you said, there's a lot of emotion tied to food sometimes, but that we're still maintaining that balance, like you said, like the 80-20 rule. So yeah, I'm excited to sort of dig down all those rabbit holes.
Yeah, and the diet also suggests that there's an endpoint to it when
Sure.
we're really trying to create some habit change so that it becomes just a normal part of your life. And that doesn't mean you have to be the wet blanket at a party, right? It just
No.
means that 80% of the time you're making good food choices, and 20% of the time you can enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah, living your life for sure.
Yeah. All right. And the next one is quality sleep. I can go down rabbit holes on sleep. I owned a company for the past 5 years. We just recently shut it down, but I owned a company that our primary focus was on sleep hygiene and sleep nutrition. Sleep hygiene and nutrition being the things that we take in that either aid or detract from our sleep. Sleep quality is defined by spending the majority of our time in wave 3 and 4, stages 3 and 4, which is slow wave sleep and deep sleep. Most reparative psychologically and physically. Those are the two stages that we see the highest release of hormones, the highest reparative psychologically. It's where we dream a lot. Our REM sleep is the same as deep sleep. So, that's where we dream, and that's where we have a lot of reparation within our our daily taskings, I guess I would say. But there's a lot of things that detract from that. Blue lights, the food that we're putting in our body, the amount of caffeine that we're taking in, the temperature of our room, alcohol consumption. There's a number of things that we can kind of touch into on that.
How many dogs do you sleep with?
How many dogs do you sleep with? That's why my dogs sleep downstairs, not upstairs in the bedroom. Not judging.
No. Only one of mine sleeps with me. The other two are on the floor. She's little, but still, she drives me crazy. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I got a baby that's still sleeping in the bed. So
I was going to say, yeah, dog, baby, same deal.
Yeah.
I think people too don't understand the importance of sleep, just in terms of, if let's say you wake up at 6 p.m. or 6 a.m. rather in the morning, and that's, we probably wake up earlier than that, but normal person 6 a.m. You're up until 10, 11, right? That's 12. I can't do the math. That's more than half of your 24-hour life cycle. And then you lie down in bed and you get to sleep. I mean, everything that you've done in those waking hours sort of needs some time. When you talk about restorative sleep and what that means, your body needs to recover from all the crap that you've done and done to it, for those waking hours. And a lot of people think that they can get on with just 5 hours of sleep a night. And I don't think people realize how much sleep you actually need to really adequately restore your body and your hormones and all of that to sort of be productive the next day. And I think that goes missed a lot. So I'm glad that we're talking about it, because it's a huge component that people rarely think about.
Yeah. And it's people might think that they can catch up on sleep.
Yeah.
It's a use it or lose it. You either get it that night, or you can't recover from sleep loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an important distinction that a lot of people need to understand.
Yeah, and if you have teenagers, that they sleep forever, and I used to always get angry with my kids and try to wake them up earlier on the weekends or when they try to sleep until 1 p.m. And then I thought, you know what, I'm just going to let them do that because they need it. And it's because they're in that phase of life too, where they're growing. Same thing with babies. Like that's when all the growing happens. And athletes that I train that are trying to build muscle and things like that, teenagers, I always say, like, you guys need to get to sleep, get off your phones, put your phones away, by 9 o'clock, so that by 10 or 11, you're good to go and relaxed and you can actually get that sleep. Because those kids can be on the phone until 2 in the morning. And no wonder they're like zombies the next morning when they have to go to school.
Go to school and be like laser focused on
Yeah.
what they're learning.
It's hard.
Yep. Yeah. And then the last one is mental resilience and wellness. And I like to call it mental resilience because I think there's a stigma that surrounds mental health. And mental health, while the word health suggests that we're doing things to benefit us, it has this negative connotation. So mental resilience, to me, is the phrase means that we are able to not only like create a pattern, but repeat that pattern on a regular basis, right? So I'm writing a blog post right now. I've been writing it for a while, and it's just because it's like I keep fleshing it out. I think you know me well enough by now that I need to rewrite things multiple times.
800 times, yes.
Yeah. Just because it's, I want to make sure that the information is shared appropriately. But I'm writing a blog post right now for the website that is on mental resilience and doing hard things. It's part of the human condition to butt up against difficult tasks or difficult people or difficult situations that we need to address. And sometimes, we very willingly know that we're not handling a situation very well. But we fail at the margins of our experience. I think you know where that statement comes from. So we get up to something that is difficult and we've never experienced it before. So, we feel like a failure after that, but actually it's building that mental resilience and that grit in order to kind of like overcome that the next time we encounter a similar situation. So, with the mental resilience stuff, I talk a lot about journaling. I talk a lot about talking with people about situations and not answering things too quickly or being like snap judgment stuff, removing the autonomous response to certain things. Somebody asks you how your day is going and they really want to engage in a conversation. Don't just say good, right?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes it might be good, but I think one of the things that we're missing today is that human connection. I think that adds into a little bit of our inability to be resilient from a mental standpoint. So it is mental health, but it's also our ability to repeat that on a normal interval, encountering difficult situations, tasks, or people. So.
Yeah, I like how you reframe that too. I do like it better than mental health. Mental health does have a stigma, and it oftentimes will connotate the fact that maybe there's a sickness there, right? And while people that are depressed and things like that, there's chemical imbalances and it is considered a sickness. But I like the word resilience a lot better. It just seems like something you can work on,
Yeah, and once again, kind of going back to touch base on the four pillars of the model, we have intentional movement, mindful nutrition, quality sleep, and then the mental resilience side of things. Once again, the reason why I picked these four subject matters is because they all kind of like tie into each other, right? If you're eating well and you're exercising, typically your hormone release becomes pretty symbiotic with what's going on in your life, and you're able to address things a little bit more from a little bit more like conscious standpoint, as opposed to having that autonomous response to things. Yeah. And then typically what happens with that is that your sleep ends up getting better, right? So all these things kind of tie into each other and they lift each other up to create that basket of wellness. Like I said, I'm sure there's other situations in there. We can talk about autoimmune disorders. We can talk about you know, hormone imbalance, certain times of life for people.
Mhm.
You know, my wife was basically pregnant for 3 years straight. So, you know, that takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
And trying to recreate that balance, it's kind of like, think about it like I like to call it like speed wobbles on a skateboard, where you kind of like, you're getting
Mm.
that, like, and you're starting to lose a little bit of control, but all of a sudden you kind of like slow it down a little bit and it becomes a little bit more controllable. So we can address things a little bit more directly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Good
you want
stuff.
to tell us a little bit about the challenge we have going on right now?
Yeah, so we have a holiday challenge going on right now with all of our sites. It is based on this intentional movement pillar that we're working on, and everyone should have information on how to register. And what you're doing is every day you're going in and recording the number of minutes that you are setting towards mindful. No, not mindful, intentional, intentional movement. I'm thinking mindful nutrition. Yeah, and so we have a nice little system that you can put it in there. There's leaderboards. We're sort of pitting sites against one another, and then people within those sites are getting ranked. We've got some great prizes. It runs until December 20th, I think. Yeah. And then we will award some prizes close to the first of the year once we get everybody calibrated and set up. But it's been fun so far, and you and I are in it, correct?
Yeah.
Are we doing it actively?
Yeah, we're crushing it.
Crushing it. I haven't put in any scores yet, but you can put in scores every single day. And I haven't looked at leaderboards yet, but I'm sure they're up there and you can sort of see how you're doing. So I think it's just a great way, especially around the holidays. People tend to, go into their little holes of eating and not moving, kind of. We get stuck a little bit. So I think this will just help people to maybe put that in the forefront and try to get, some intentional movement going. Make that a habit over the holidays so that we're, not sort of way behind the 8 ball once the first of the year comes around, and then everybody's, wanting to get back into their routine. So we're already in it.
Yeah, that's I'm sure we'll talk about this probably closer to the new year, but that whole, new year, new me kind of thing,
Mhm.
why not, November 21st, new me.
Right.
You don't need to wait until the new year in order to start getting going on this stuff.
Right. And for me, it's for me and my clients that I work with specifically, it's more about sort of maintaining over the holidays, which is also fine in terms of, maybe your weight or you have some goals. And we always talk about, like, we find a pair of pants and we put them on, and we keep putting them on and making sure that they still fit. That's a win over the holidays. I feel like if we can, not have to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe after, on December 26th or on January 2nd, we're doing just fine. So give yourself a little bit of grace, enjoy the holidays, don't be the weirdo in the corner that's not eating the pumpkin pie or not having, mashed potatoes, but, do it with a sense of purpose and make sure that we're not going off the rails. Love it.
Well, stay tuned, guys. I think we're gonna be putting this out weekly. Just little like 30-minute vignettes, or I don't think we've really determined a time on it, but
no, just casual.
Yeah, and we'll start bringing some guests on. I had a lot of questions about ergonomics and setting up functional workspaces. So I have a buddy of mine, his name's Todd. He does ergonomics for Cornell University, for the entire university. He owns his own company. My gym is in Ithaca, New York, which is where Cornell is. And he's a member at the gym. And he and I have talked a lot about ergonomics. And so we'll get him on here and see if we can pick his brain a little bit about setting up proper functional workspaces.
That's good. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great.